Hello, my name is Joshua Huang. Today I'm going to be talking about a study conducted by Allegheny College's Department of Environmental Science and Sustainability, investigating the effectiveness of using goats as treatment for multiflora rose. This project started in 2019, so this is the fifth year consecutively of this treatment being tested. Why multiflora rose? So multiflora rose is an invasive shrub brought over from East Asia and quickly spread throughout the United States because it was endorsed for use as a natural fence for livestock. This is because it grows very dense and has many sharp thorns. Multiflora rose spreads very quickly and grows very quickly and forms very dense thickets that are very difficult to remove by hand. As such, multiflora rose requires various forms of treatment, such as cutting, burning, mowing, and pulling by hand. This is very labor intensive and takes a long time. Invasive species are a big problem because often they will outcompete native species in an area. This can lead to lower biodiversity in a region and lower ecosystem functions. This is where goats come in. Goats, as many people know, are known for eating pretty much anything under the sun. Their preference for broadleaf plants with woody stems makes them an ideal candidate for taking care of multiflora rose. Goats will essentially clear cut an area. They'll eat up pretty much everything within the space that they're allowed to, which allows for native species to sprout back up and recompete with the invasives. At least that's the theory. Goats are not only practical, but they're cute. So this improves community interest in removing invasive species from areas. Since goats are cute, they can foster community interest in land management and conservation. This can increase volunteers and overall benefit the overall ecosystem. There are some problems with goats though, as they can't dig into the ground, so they can't remove the root systems of the invasive plants. This means that humans have to come in afterwards and provide additional treatments. Goats also don't just eat invasive plants. They'll eat anything. This includes trees as well. So they will bite into the bark, and this can damage the tree and lead to its eventual death. Goats kind of have minds of their own. That means that they have to be fenced in and they have to be monitored. Otherwise, they'll eat the whole forest. This leads us to our main question. How has goat browsing impacted multiflora rose populations over the past 5 years? So, what did the experiment involve? Well, we looked at two different treatments. A browsed, where it was just the goats eating the plants, and then a browsed and herbicided, which is the goats eating the plants, followed by an herbicide treatment. And then there was also a control, where there's no treatment done. In the fall of 2024, a year after the last goat browsing treatment, we measured several different things. The first was stem length, then followed by stem density, the leaf to stem ratio, the mass of multiflora rose per plot, light at ground level, and non-multiflora rose plant density. So, how did we do this? Well, we took a 1 by 1 meter square plot of land that was randomly chosen based off a random number generator, and what we had to do was we had to walk in a certain amount of steps, which was randomly generated, and then put down our 1 by 1 meter plot. In that, we cut all multiflora rose stems and then measured them, put them in a bag, and then we counted all the non-multiflora rose stems. We also got light levels at ground level and at the tallest level. We also evaluated tree health. So in that, we looked at the percentage of browsed and girdled trees, as well as recording tree dieback and mortality. So what were our results? Well, we found that browsing had no real impact on stem density. However, browsed and herbicided treatments did have an effect on stem density and lowered it. Browsed and herbicided treatments also had a more effective impact on stem length compared to just the browsed treatments alone. There was no real difference in multiflora rose mass in the control compared to the browsed treatments. However, browsed and herbicided had a significantly lower multiflora rose mass. The browse treatment resulted in a larger stem-to-leaf ratio, while the browsed and herbicided treatment had no effect on that. Throughout all the plots, there was no impact on non-multiflora rose stem density. Goats browsed on 35% of the trees, of which 14% died, 9% had a major dieback. Ironwood was the most affected, and shagbark hickory was the least affected. The results of the previous studies suggested that goats might be a viable treatment option for multiflora rose. However, it seems that by itself, goat browsing is not advisable because it doesn't reduce multiflora rose stem density and it poses risks to the surrounding trees in the area. This tree damage is significant and can alter forest composition. That means that if goats are used, there must be steps taken to protect trees to ensure that they're not browsed upon. By itself, goat browsing has little impact for how much time, money, and energy has to go into it. However, when used with herbicides, it can actually be a pretty effective treatment. Future management strategies, if they are to use goat browsing as a treatment option, should also leverage benefits of herbicide use while also protecting trees, as this will be the best option to preserve the forest's integrity in the future.